All right. We're going to do a little refreshing of the coordinate plane before we get into uh, linear and slope. And so we have this little section that we've pulled out of G6, Unit 4, Section 5. It's called coordinate plane. We're going to call it lesson 4.0 because it's going to go at the beginning of ours and before 1. So it's 0.0. So let's talk about the coordinate plane. Okay. The coordinate plane is formed by the intersection of two number lines or axes that meet at right angles at their 0 points. The intersection of these number lines separates the quadrant plane or the coordinate plane into 4 quadrants. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now those are Roman numerals. So that is like an I, that's like a double I, that's a triple I, and that's an IV for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each I is a 1, each V is a 5. If you put a smaller in front of a bigger, it takes that many away. Okay. So we've got them numbered here. Now the other thing that's weird is it goes this way, right? This is anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. So it goes around that way. So there's quadrant 1. Ooh, I don't need that button. It's quadrant 1. All right, so there's 1. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4. Okay, we got them all there. You can use the x coordinates and the y coordinates to identify the quadrant in which a point is located. The axes and points on the axes, such as -3, 0, and 0, 0.5, are not located in any of the quadrants. So use what you know on the coordinate plane to complete the table over to the right. So what they're saying is that if I have a point here, it's not in quadrant 1 and 4 at the same time. It is just on the axis, okay? And so those axes are labeled. This one is y, and this is y in the positive. This is y in the negative. So it's like doing a number line like this, right? And normally plus signs over here and negatives over there. And so if we did that for the x, it goes left and right. We do it for the y, we do that, but we rotate it 90 degrees, and it's the up and down. So y is your up and down value. X is your left and right value. So this is negative x. This is positive x. Okay. And you can see the numbers are labeled on the coordinate grid. So if we look at the table over to the right, in quadrant 1, the x coordinate is positive and the y coordinate is positive. So in this quadrant, uh, we have plus, plus. Okay. In quadrant 2, now we're left. Over here, we are left. So that's negative for x's. And that's positive for y's. In quadrant 3, the down here quadrant, that's negative. We're left and we're down. So we're negative, negative. And in quadrant 4, we're to the right, positive, but we're down. So we're negative. Okay, you need to learn those. Quadrant 1's plus plus. Quadrant 2 is negative plus. Okay, and it's always x comma y, and it's alphabetical, A, B, C. So x comes first, then y. X, y, z alphabetically, x, then y in the coordinate. First one's always the x, second one's always the y. Okay. Now, if you're on the axes, okay, if you're on the x-axis and your x-coordinate is positive, your y-coordinate is 0. Because you're not up and you're not down. Okay, you're just left, right. You're not up, down. Now, if your y is 0, so if you're on the y-axis, sorry, if you're on the y-axis, I'll put undrawn. If you're on the y-axis, right there, your x-coordinate is 0, and then your y-coordinate could be positive. Okay, those are your options. So that would be an up here situation. Okay. Now, if you're on the x-axis and your x-coordinate is negative and your y-coordinate is 0, you'd be on the x-axis this time. And if your x-coordinate, you don't go left or right. Let me erase that guy. Use a highlighter. If you don't go left or right, if you just go down, negative, you would be on the y-axis. Okay. So with your x's, you're going to have a positive or negative x, and your y is going to be 0. Those tie together, right? And on your y-axis, your x's are going to be 0. Those tie together. And your y's will be positive or negative. So if one of your coordinates is a 0, you're on the other one's axis. So if your y is a 0, you're on the x-axis. If your x is a 0, you're on the y-axis because you didn't go left or right. You just went up and down. If both of them are 0, you are at what is called the origin. 0, comma 0 is the origin. Okay, all the stuff you need to know. Now, example 1, identify the quadrant. Identify the quadrant in which the point -3/4, comma 1 and 1/2 is located. So we have a negative and we have a positive. If we go back to our chart, where's negative positive? That's up in, so quadrant 2 is negative positive. So you can use the signs of the x and y coordinates to identify the quadrant. Because the x coordinate is negative and the y coordinate is positive, we know that it's in quadrant 2. So we could put Q2. And that's where we are. So identify the quadrant in which the point -2.5, -2.5 is located. Okay, now pause for a second, see if you can figure out what quadrant it is, then press play and let's see if you're right. Okay. We've got a negative, negative. Let's go back up and look at our little chart. Negative, negative was in quadrant 3, so that'd be Q3. That's what we're looking at right there, Q3. Now, identify the axis. So instead of the quadrant, because we had numbers for both x and y, now we're going to figure out what axis. One of them is going to be 0, the other one's going to be a number. So identify the axis on which the point 0, 2/5 is located. So I did not go left and right, but I went 2/5 in the y direction. So that one's positive. So no left and right, but I went 2/5. So I'm only in the up. So this is the y axis. The y-axis. So the one that has a number, not the one with the 0, that's the one that it is. It's the y-axis. So look at the coordinates, has a non-zero value. The y coordinate has a non-zero value. So this point lies on the y-axis, okay? So you try the check. Pause it, come back, let's see how you did. Okay, here we go. The one that's not a 0 is the x, so we're on the x-axis. And it is hyphenated, so try to keep that in there. All right, identifying ordered pairs. To identify the ordered pair graphed on the coordinate plane, you start at the origin. Start here at the origin. That'll be the O, and it's not a 0. I mean, kind of it is, but it's an O. First, move horizontally, right? Because it goes X then Y. So move horizontally along the X-axis, counting the units, and be careful of the direction that you go. So to get to this dot, I'd have to go 1, 2, 3 to be right under it. So that X part is -3. And then I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4 upwards, and that'd be +4. And I've got that pictured here, right? So I went 3 this way, and then I went 4 that way. So my coordinate is -3, 4. Your left and right is your first one. Your up and down is your second one. Watch your signs and watch the scale, right? These all went by ones, but sometimes they go by twos. So be careful. Sometimes it goes by halves. So be careful. Now, identify the ordered pair that names point D. Okay, so that's my point down here. So starting at the origin, I'd have to go 1, 2, 3 over. And then I would have to go, where was I? 2 down. So I'm going 1, 2, 3. Sorry about the phone. I'm just going to keep going because if I stop, I have to start over. And then 2 down. So move 3 units right, which is positive, on the x-axis until you reach the vertical line that intersects the point D. The x-coordinate point D is 3. So I can put that in. Move down negative 2 units to reach point D. The y-coordinate of the point D is -2, so it'll be -2. And there's my answer. So identify the ordered pair that names point B. So give point B a try and get its ordered pair. Okay, here's my parentheses. So starting at the origin, 1, 2, 3 until I'm on top of it. So it's +3. You can put the plus if you want to. 2 down, that's down 2. So I'm at 3, -2. Okay, you can identify a point graphed on the coordinate plane using the x and y coordinates. The x coordinate indicates how far left or right, and the to move from the origin. The coordinate indicates how far up or down to move from the origin. So if we identify the point graphed at -2, 4, we have P, Q, and R to work with. So because the x coordinate is negative, we're going to move 2 to the right, to the left, because left is negative. Left means negative. Okay. And then because the y coordinate is positive, we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 upwards. So point P is the one that's located at -2, 4. Okay. One is located at -2, 4. So let's identify some points. Identify the point located at 2, half. Now watch out. Okay. Notice this 1, 2, and I'm at 1. So that point in the middle is actually -1/2. That point is 1/2. They're half stepping. So watch out as you name them. As we count, I'm going to be half, then 1, then -1/2, then -2. And then I need to go a half up. And so that would be, so I'm going to move 2 units left on the x-axis. I'm going to move a half a unit up because the y-coordinate is positive. So point R is located at -2, 1/2, not 4, 1. Watch your scaling, okay? Here's a check problem. You go ahead and try it. Let's identify the point. I mean, really, this should have been the point R. My bad. There's the answer. Okay, so let's identify the point. And we need point what? P-O-I-N-T, point what? Is it R, T, or S that is located at half, -2? Give it a pause, give it a try. So we have to go a half positively right, and then we're going to go down 2 whole pieces. So if I do that again, right, that's a half this way, and then it's down 1, down 2. So that'd be point S. To graph an ordered pair, place a dot at the cross point that corresponds to the y coordinates. You can graph a point on the coordinate plane using the x and y coordinates. So now we just have to put the thing on the graph. So graph A, -4, 3. The x coordinate is -4, the y coordinate is 3, right? It's always x, then y. If you need to label them, do it. Because the x coordinate is negative, move left. Left is negative. So they did that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Scales back to 1. And then from that point, do your y part, which is 1, 2, 3 up. So we put our dot, it's a capital A, and it's always best to put the coordinate down where you think it goes. Okay. So graphing ordered pairs. We're going to graph in, so we're going to put an N next to our dot. They're both negative, so I'm going to go left and I'm going to go down, and they've got my half steps on here. So the x-coordinate is negative, so move 2 1/2 units left, which is negative, along the x-axis. And then since the y-coordinate is negative, moved 3 1/2 down, and then place a dot. Okay, so we're going to go half 1, 1/2, 2, 2 1/2, and then I'm going to go half 1, 1 1/2, 2, 2 1/2, 3, 3 1/2, and that should be point N, negative 2 and 1/2, negative 3 and 1/2. Graph M, 4.5, negative 1. So that's positive, that's negative. Now give it a pause and see if you know where they go. Okay, here we go. I can go all the way out, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a half. And then I need to go down 1, that's a half, and then that's a whole 1 down to there. So that's point M, that's 4.5, negative 1. The table shows the locations for several places around town. The grid shows a map of the town, and each square on the grid represents one city block. Ben needs to go to the dry cleaner, which is 3 blocks west and 5 blocks north of the library. Where on the grid should he go? Okay, so we have to figure out where he should go. There we go. So they want the coordinate location, right? So where is it that he's going to go? So where do we know he starts? He needs to get to the dry cleaner, which is 3 blocks west and 5 blocks north of the library. So we need the coordinate for the dry cleaner. Okay, well, let's start at the library because we need to move from there. So let's find the library. 0 left and rights, down 3/4. So no left and rights, and down 1.5. No, a quarter, a half, another quarter. So that's where we're going to start, from the library. We need to go 3 blocks west and 5 blocks north. Now each square is a block. So I just need to go 3 west. Okay, so W's first. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. And then I need to go 5 blocks north. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the dry cleaner. So where is that coordinate? Okay, where is that coordinate? Well, we are at 1/4, 1/2, negative 3/4. And then we're at 1/4, 1/2. That's the coordinate he should go for the dry cleaner. That's the dry cleaner. Okay. Now let's run a check. The table shows the locations for several different places around town. The grid shows a map of the town, and each square on the grid represents one city block. Yamina needs to go to the farmer's market, which is 6 blocks east and 2 blocks south of the post office. Where should she go? Where on the grid should she go? She needs to go to the farmer's market. So the farmer's, that's Framer's Market. I want farmer's market. Farmer's market is at what coordinates? So pause it, start from the post office, move where you need to go, and give me the coordinate. Okay, post office is -1, so that's all the way back here, and -1 and 1/4. So -1 and 1/4. That's the post office. From the post office, it's 6 blocks east. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2 blocks south. 1, 2. So right there is the farmer's market. And that is at, if we go up to the X mark, it's 1/2. And if we go down, that's -1.5. So that'd be -1 3/4, right? Because half and then another quarter. And then the other quarter all the way up to 2. So that's the 3/4 mark. So that's where we should be, is 1/2. 1 3/4. Oh, they got 1/2 and 3/4. What did we do wrong? Let's see. They got a different answer. They got 1/2 3/4. That's what they say the right answer is. So let's erase and start over. Make sure we started from the right spot. Sometimes it goes wrong. That's okay. Of the post office. So start the post office. -1 here. Oh, 1 and 1/4, not -1 and 1/4. So 1 and 1/4 right there. That's the post office. You started from the wrong place. Yeah, it happens to everybody. This is why you check your work. Okay, so now we have to go 6 blocks east. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 2 blocks south. 1, 2 blocks south. So we're still at a half. So that was wrong. So we're still at a half. And then how far up are we? That's a quarter, that's a half, that's 3/4. So that's the farmer's market. Aha, 3/4. So it's okay to get an answer wrong. That's why we get it wrong in our practice, so that we can learn from our mistakes, pay more attention. I should have marked this as minus and plus so that I knew that I went to quadrant number 2. That would have been easier. That way I have the right starting point and then move the right way. So that's coordinate plane. Up, down is the y. It's the second part of your parenthesis. Down is negative, up is positive. Left, right is your x. It's the first part of your parenthesis. They're alphabetical. It goes x, then y. Left is negative, right is positive. And watch your quadrants, okay? One more time. We can do the quadrants if we need to. This is Q1, positive, positive. That's Q2, that's negative, positive. That's Q3, negative, negative. And that's Q4, positive, negative. Learn it. Good luck.